Alright, so I've seen a couple of you guys asking for it. Today we're going to be making a brand new tier list, ranking every meta unit in Anime Last Stand, as of the Quality of Life Summer Prep Update. Of course, everything in this video is just my opinion, but I still hope it helps you. If it does, maybe leave a like or subscribe. But anyways, let's get into it. Alright, so for the tier list today, I'm going to be starting off with my tier list from my last video. So make sure you check that out if you want the explanations for all the rankings you see here. But I'm going to make a lot of changes to this list because I listened to the comments on my last tier list video and took some more time to try out the meta right now. So a lot of changes to make here before we get into the new stuff. So first I'm going to move Yuta. Yuta's going to go above Asta here because I think Yuta is just overall really good for everything right now. Even after the rework that kind of buffed his Heaven's Ladder and nerfed Rika's nuke, he's just really good. Sun Jinwoo I'm going to move down to above Wukong. I think that I undervalued Goku and Water Former Shinra a little bit. Medusa, I'm going to move her down to support. She does still do really good DPS, just not very good for progressive in my opinion, because most of her value comes from the final upgrade and her supporting value from having Petrify full AoE. So I'm going to move her down to support and right below buff Kurumi here for now. Ichigo, I'm actually going to move up. I listened to the comments on that one, definitely. A lot of people were saying that I ranked Ichigo very low and he's actually good in Infinites, so I tried him in an Infinite. And I kind of figured this unit was bugged. A lot of people told me this guy was bugged when he first got buffed, or reworked. His damage can kind of fluctuate, and it looks like it's very inconsistent and almost kind of bugged. But this guy is just very good. He has access to Despair, Fear, Pressure. He's got a lot of different stuff going for him. I'd put him probably right above Sakura in meta overall. Pride I'm going to move down. We're going to put him right above DPS Kurumi. We're going to move Luffy down with him. We're going to put him under Kirito, so right above Pride here. We're going to move Wong Ling down to the Meta Infinite category, honestly at the top of it for now. He's very good. Okay, we'll move Arthur down to like under Geto for here, for Meta Infinite. In the Infinite tier, I do want to move around a bunch of units as well, because I do think I overvalued the percent insta-killers here, because the meta has kind of changed since then. These guys can't one-shot bosses, so you need to have somebody to execute like Saitama, somebody to do a lot of damage like Yujo. So I'm going to move these around a lot. Saitama I'm going to put above Nature Shinra. Yujo I'm going to put above Saitama. He did get buffed a bunch from last update. Giorno I'm going to move up from the support tier, because I didn't realize how good his rewind actually is for infinite runs. I'd put him probably above Zamasu here. I would say actually above Arthur, sorry, right here. And then Madara, I'm going to move him down to under Giorno. The support tier. I think that with the introduction of non-targeting, the non-targeting thing for units, where you can like stop attacking, Isagi is now going to be a really good buffer, because you can kind of guarantee he can get the 25 kills to activate his ability's permanent buff of like 50% damage and a bunch of other stuff. So he's a very good buffer, and I'd put him probably right about here in support for sure. Buff Kurumi I'm going to move down to below Quincy King. I think Quincy King is actually a very good support. And then Antares I'm going to move down to decent tier and probably under Astolfo. This guy is not the best buffer anymore. For the early tier, I have a couple other changes. We did move Ichigo up already out of the early tier, but we're going to move Benimaru down. I definitely overranked Benimaru. He's not that good. I went off a lot of community feedback for that one, where people were saying, why isn't Benimaru higher? Benimaru should be higher. Upon testing it myself, I still think this guy is just not that good. I put him way too high. I think he would go honestly below Goku Black as well. This guy, definitely overrated him in the past. And then Yuno I'd also move up, and I'd put him above Goku Black. Time King I'm going to move up from decent and put above Geto, because it's 7.5 trillion nuke and very good supporting with his passives and stuff. Judge Guy I'm going to say is a support and below Medusa. He has a very good application of that new SAS effect we got with the JJK update, the Exhausted or whatever it was called. It was a really good one, and he has a lot of uptime on it. And then Kefla, I think I underrated this unit a lot in the past. She's actually very good. People told me that I was kind of overplaying how much it took for her to like ramp up or whatever. It doesn't take her that long, it's like 80k. You can ramp her up pretty quick, and I'd put her probably right below Maki here in meta overall. Kashimo I'm also going to move up. This guy, pretty underrated all around. I'd recommend like try this guy out in a Bolt team. It is kind of conditional. You want to have Bolt teammates or people to buff his SPA. But Bolt is very strong right now. This guy is very strong for everything. Kashimo is really good. And Itadori also very good, but a little bit worse for like progressive. He's a very good boss killer. He's just kind of okay for progressive early waves. He's really good though. I think overall very solid. And then Tengen I want to move as well. I think that Tengen is going to go above Luffy and decent. This guy is definitely underrated. As I said, Bolt is very crazy. Bolt teams are very strong, and you can also use him for his full AoE weekend. So those were all my changes to the tier list from my last video. Hopefully you guys forgive me for some of my opinions in the past. These are looking like better rankings in my opinion. Sorry if anybody's hurt by the Benimaru downplay or Godly's moving down into the decent tier, but I think we had to let some stuff go, finally. Now we can finally move on to the brand new units with the summer prep update. So starting off with Araragi. This guy is from the Infinity Castle from last season. It ended and the capsule opened. So this guy I'd say is a decent unit, he's okay. I'd put him probably right above Phaeton here. He is a bleed reliant unit, you need to have a bleed teammate with him. And if you attack something bleeding, he kind of applies his own better version of bleed that can stack. So having low SPA on him and with a bleed teammate, he can do really good damage, but overall I put him in decent. Kinshiro. This guy I'd also say is going in decent, but probably right about here. He just does a lot of raw damage. He does have cripple and then very high crit scaling with his passive. He has extra crit rate and crit damage. You can pair him with a couple combos like Cosmic Garo lead to do a lot of crit stuff, really crazy. Overall, just going in decent though. Meliodas, okay, this guy has a lot going for him. So Meliodas, I'd say, meta overall and very high in it. This is one of the best units in the game right now. Very good progressive damage. He does have Despair on placement, which is really good. That's what makes Yuta really good. He has a very solid passive of a bunch of different random stuff he can roll after attacking 5 times. Very good for applying a bunch of different debuffs and buffing your team. Then he does have 2 very strong abilities that are going to be nuke scaling off the strongest teammates in his range. So if you have like Yujo for example, and Infinite is very good, because he can do like 50 times their damage or whatever. Something like that, something crazy. Overall, she's a very strong unit for every game mode. Angel, this guy takes a while to ramp up, definitely an infinite unit. He is pretty expensive and takes some time building up his passives, his bars or whatever, his years. I'd say like definitely towards the top of meta infinite for nuking. I think he goes up to like 35 trill if you max out all this stuff. And overall very good damage as well. I think he's like number 3 in the game, maybe even number 1 in the game if you max out all his passives actually. So very, very good. And finally Buddha, this guy is actually pretty underwhelming. He's the raid unit, and how this guy works is the pretty much only value from him, what you're going to want from this guy, is when he is going to be buffed, he's going to take away that buff from himself, but turn it into a 5% damage and crit chance buff for everything in his range. So if you pair him with a bunch of other buffers, he can be a very good support by buffing everything in his range by 5% times however many buffs he has on him. So pretty good, and I put him right below Noelle in support. I think we pretty much have the final list here. I did mess up in the support tier, let me move that real quick. We put these 2, Buff Mode Karumi and Quincy King above Medusa and Judge Guy. But this is the final list, I think. I think it looks pretty good personally. I put a lot of time into messing around with the meta units for this one, so hopefully you guys are not too offended by this one. I know there were some very sudden changes with like Benimaru moving down a lot, Ichigo moving up a lot, but I think this is like closer to the objective true performances of these units, so I'm kind of happy with how this one is. Overall, of course, some of these have a lot more nuance to talk about, so like Death the Kid for example, best meta early unit in the game if you don't have another Despair application unit, like Yuta or Meliodas pretty much, because if you already have Despair from somebody else, his Madness form is not too valuable. But yeah, this is the final tier list overall, I think, for individual units and their performances. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm of course open to anybody's feedback and criticism, because this is just my opinion at the end of the day, and I always want to get as close to the truth as I can, so I'm not misinforming you guys. But anyways, thank you to my channel members for making this video possible. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next one, and have a great day.